Hello, I'm Jim Verzino, entrepreneur in residence of Windham Grows, and we're here today to talk about the Slow Living Summit. I'm joined with Jen Brandt, coordinator of the summit, Orly Munzing, executive director and founder of Strolling of the Heifers, and Abby Course of Course Farm Dairy. And we're here to talk today about the Slow Living Summit, the future of women in food entrepreneurship. And Orly, why don't you start us out by talking to us about how the Slow Living Summit started and how we got to where we are today.
Okay, so Strolling of the Heifers, as many of the viewers know, is 18 years old. And every year we put on some sort of a summit. And about 10 years ago, I brought Woody Tash from Slow Money to talk to the community about slow money. I was so taken aback, and so was the community, that I decided that we need to bring everyone in the slow movement under the tent. And we started Slow Living Summit. And every year we take a different topic. And this year, I'm so proud of this conference. It's the future of women in food entrepreneurship. And it's so exciting, and we have incredible guests coming to it, and we're very fortunate to have Jennifer Brandt, who is coordinating it. And I got to tell you, Jennifer, you did an amazing job in producing and gathering these leaders in the topic. So do you want to tell us something about that?
Sure. So the summit really combines a lot of my passions. I do events on a freelance basis, and all of my events have some kind of aspect of giving back. And I'm a woman, and I'm very passionate about food systems. So this year's summit spoke to me in so many different ways, and we were able to really pull in some fantastic and really inspirational women to this event. Winona Laduke, who is former running mate of Ralph Nader. She has Honor the Earth. She is a Native American elder and speaker, as also somebody who is of Native American lineage. That was important to me to be really representative of a lot of different types of women. So we have a really cross-sectional representation of women in this event. We have men speaking as well, so we're not, excluding people. We want to be as inclusive as possible, and that I feel like has been the theme for all of the slow living summits in the past, is to have inclusivity, to kind of expand our reach from what it already has been. And this year, I feel like it's done a really great job of expanding it even further than it already has been as well.
And we've got Stacey Vanek Smith too, right?
We have Stacey Vanek Smith as well.
From Marketplace or Planet Money?
Planet Money.
Planet
Yep.
Money.
Yep.
Okay.
From National Public Radio.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, she's going to advertise this on National Public Radio. And we're so excited that really nationally people will hear about Brattleboro, Vermont, and all the exciting things that are happening here, especially around agriculture and food.
Right. Abby, you are not really with Strolling of the Heifers, so you're going to be one of the panelists and speakers at the event, is that correct?
That's what I've been told, yeah.
Okay.
And I do stroll heifers, just on a different, it's a little bit of a different scale.
Cool. And how did you learn about the summit?
I actually was contacted by Jen. I'm going to be on a panel with a number of other local female Vermont farmers, amazing women that I'm really honored to be on a panel with. And one of them suggested me to her, so that's how I found out about it.
Yeah, I'd say the coolest thing about organizing this summit is that so many of the people that we started to reach out to for the panels also suggested other folks as well. Abby was suggested partly because of her commitment to community and farming, but also because she has a really cool Instagram, which, you don't necessarily think about farming and Instagram going together, but this is where we are now. Everything has to.
I think it's become a much bigger piece. Instagram offers a potential to automatically engage with the consumer and to really give them, I think that the connections to farms are so degraded now that it's a really powerful medium to bring people to the farm literally and see what we're doing there and what we're about and how we're trying to improve the world.
Right, and I think people have preconceptions about what farming is, and I feel like you're showing that you've modernized it, I'm sure, in many, many ways, and just through Instagram alone, but there's things that you're doing that people, I'm sure, are totally unaware of, and I think that's such a
And
cool
so many
way.
women now are running farms, and that's the most exciting thing.
It is really exciting. I would say there's still a little bit of a curve in the dairy world. We're still breaking some barriers there, but there's a lot of amazing women who are definitely engaged in growing food and bringing community to farms, and there's some really amazing things going on,
Right.
for sure.
Sure. And I feel like you've bucked the trend too of leaving Vermont and you've come back, and that's really wonderful
Yes.
too, and something that we need to address, I think, as Vermonters.
For sure. I was educated at St. Mike's. I had a full tuition. I grew up in Whitingham. I had a full tuition scholarship to St. Mike's. I went to St. Mike's for journalism and swore I would never farm, and I hated cows. Up until I became a mother 8 years ago, when I learned to empathize deeply with their
Right.
lot in life. And so I swore I would never come back, but I mean, the long story short is it's where I'm happiest, and it took a while to realize that, but I'm really excited to be back, and I'm hopeful that in being more available to the public, I can try to bring the perspective that coming back to Vermont doesn't mean everything's over, and that there's a lot happening here, and a lot of really amazing things happening here within agriculture, and this state really does try to be on board with their farmers, and I think that things like this, events like this, are really encouraging.
Right.
For bringing young people
That's why we
back.
do it.
Yeah.
It's a really important story to be told, for sure.
So, just for the listeners, why we came up this year with the theme of the future of women in agriculture, food, entrepreneurship. The Strolling of the Heifer also has Windham Grows, and Jim Vizino is the coordinator and the entrepreneur in residence of the program. And Jim, you can speak to it better than I can, but what we've noticed is that we didn't ask for this, but there are so many women who have applied for Windham Grows and participated in it. And we started thinking about it and started reading and researching. And Jim, can you speak to
Sure.
that, please?
Sure. So Windham Grows is a food and agriculture business accelerator. So we work with companies to help them scale up both farm businesses as well as value-added food businesses and people that service the food industry. But what we discovered when we started the program was in every cohort, we're now on our fourth cohort, about 30-something companies, 32 companies, and every single cohort ended up being 75% women. And we never promoted it as a women-specific program. We never did anything to really engage it, especially by women. We just put it out to everybody, and it ended up being 75% women. And then the more research we did, the more we found women in food entrepreneurship at all levels. I think something like more than 60% of new farmers coming into the business are women. It might even be higher than that. So women are really, really coming up in the space, and it just seemed like a great time to bring them together to help talk about how to, there's lots of differences in women businesses getting funded in the venture capital space. Something like only 3 or 4 or 5% of venture funded companies run by women actually get funded, as opposed to, and that's companies in general, that's not just food. So there's a lot of challenges there that women can help other women overcome. Every state now has women investor networks to help women-owned businesses get funded by women investors. It's just an incredibly interesting space. There's so much happening there that the field is ripe, as they say, or the field is, what do they say? The field is ready to be picked.
So the other piece,
Make hay while the sun shines.
Sure, why not?
and the other piece is that most food businesses are started by women. And then when they seem to grow, it gets taken over. And that's when men take over. So those are some of the topics and what we'll be weaving in and out of the conference. We have many men who are going to speak at the conference as well. And we're going to try in this conference to resolve some of those issues. And that's why this event, this summit, is so important, so exciting.
All right. Thank you very much, Abby. Next up, we have Emily
you.
Vincent. And we're back, and we're here now with Dr. Emily Benson, career coach. Emily, how did you hear about the Slow Living Summit?
Well, thank you for having me. I heard about the Slow Living Summit through a friend of mine, Andrew Richardson, who is actually on the board of Strolling of the Heifers. So he knows that I work a lot with women, primarily with women, many of them entrepreneurs, so he thought it was a great fit. So I'm really excited to be here.
Cool. And have you been working with Jen? Jen, you've been working with Emily on the coordination. Can you tell us sort of what panels they're working together on, things like that?
Yeah, so Emily is going to be moderating a panel, and it's really about women and we have a couple panels about women and their business journeys. This one addresses more directly what it's like through the eyes of a pretty big cross-section of women. So women just starting out, women mid-career, and then women sort of having gone through many different parts of their career already and sort of later career. So we have Christine Halquist, who is an amazing speaker. She ran for governor last year in Vermont and did wonderfully. She has obviously a very unique perspective on what it's like to be a woman in business. So she's, later career, she's been the boss of many people, and I think that'll be really interesting to hear it from somebody with a lot of experience. We have some younger women from Whistlepig who are just beginning their careers, and that'll be interesting to see, the beginning perspective, and also how the newer generation is, becoming the future business leaders of America. And then we have, someone who's mid-career, and she has her own company that she just started, and she is, I think, going to have a really good perspective in what's it like to be a new business owner and to, kind of switch from employee to employer. And I think it's going to be just a really great panel. And so I'm just curious about your perspective as somebody who, deals with a lot of entrepreneurs. Like, what do you think are going to be some of the best questions that you can ask for that panel?
Well, first of all, I'm super honored to be leading that panel, such an amazing group of women. And I think it'll be really exciting to get a window into the food industry. And, I work with women in all kinds of industries, and I found that at many points, women kind of reach a point in their lives where, they've worked hard, worked their way up in a career, whether it's their own business or for an organization, and they reach a point where they kind of reach a pinnacle and say, this doesn't have the meaning that it used to have anymore. I need to make some sort of transition. I need to find something real and authentic in my life, and a larger mission that I can really serve the world in some way. And just from talking to friends of mine that are in the food industry, talking to you guys, and hearing about this panel and its whole mission of slow living, I think there's just this underlying meaning to that and authenticity that so many women are really craving. And so I'm really excited to learn from these women about how they're tapping into that at different phases of their career.
Yeah, and I'll say too, something that's really interesting throughout the summit is talking about different types of business models, particularly that women seem attracted to, such as the co-op model. And Christine Halquist actually, was the head of Vermont Electric Co-op. So, that's one person on a co-op. We have a panel all with women who have worked in co-ops and their different journeys through working with co-ops. Nutty Steph's, I was switching to a co-op model as well. So I'm kind of curious, and I know it's entrepreneurs that you work with primarily, but if you have any insight into that, I just kind of want to see like the through line with that, and if that's something you've had experience with, and if not, something that could be interesting to speak about as well.
Yeah, well, I think that the co-op model is just so fascinating, or just any sort of creative model like that, because shockingly the traditional corporate model does not work so well for women and our bodies and our phases of life that we go through. It's really challenging to fit ourselves into a structure that is really uncomfortable for us and causes a lot of trauma for women. So to be a part of, or to learn about these innovative structures that are just really throwing out all the old paradigms and saying, how can we create this to work for all of us and be healthy for all of us in the food that we're buying and the food that we're eating, but also how we're actually working and living and making our livings is so exciting.
Well, and they work for men too, and I think that's the thing that Orly keeps touching on.
Yes.
So I just wanted to stop for 1 second for the listeners who are not familiar with the Slow Living Summit. Why slow living? The Slow Living Summit is I lead a very fast life, as many people who know me, but I slow down. I slow down to think about when I'm in the supermarket, should I buy an apple that's from California or should I buy an apple that's from Vermont? Clearly, I'll buy the apple from Vermont. When I am with my friends, I have to slow down and think about myself. How can I slow down and be a better friend? How can I be a better listener? How can I take better care of myself? I need to slow down and really think about that one, as well as what can I give back to the community? Giving back to the community doesn't mean just writing a check. It's volunteering. It's just simple goodness. Just saying something nice to someone. That's slowing down. And that's what we try to transfer to people who are coming to the summit.
All right, Early, thank you very much. Coming up next, we've got Larry Swanson from WhistlePig. And we're back, and we're here now with Larry Swanson from WhistlePig Farm. Larry is a major sponsor of the Slow Living Summit. Larry, how did you learn about the Slow Living Summit?
It was probably 5 or so years ago, Jim. I had just started with the company, WhistlePig, and I was looking for events to do for the summertime, and I saw Strolling of the Heifers, Slow Living Summit, Brattleboro. I'd never spent any time in Brattleboro, but I was looking for some fun events to do that would get us out there, and I poured samples of our whiskey at the Friday night event, the Strolla, I think it was called the Gallery Walk, and had a great success, and went back several years after that. So I've known about it for a few years now.
Great, and what inspired you to even back then? I believe WhistlePig's been a sponsor for a few years. What was it that inspired you to sponsor the summit all these years? Because we've had different topics every year.
Yeah, well, last year I remember it was a Star Wars theme. It was "May the Farms Be With You," and that was the first year we really stepped up our sponsorship and really committed. And that was really, I have to give a lot of credit to Charlie Marinoff of Breakthrough Beverage, and he's also a shareholder in WhistlePig. And he kind of, opened the door for us and said, look, this is a great opportunity for us to really help the community and really make a splash in the local scene. So he was really instrumental in getting us involved last year. And then this year we are really happy to continue that commitment.
And this is their second year of being the key sponsor of the Slow Living Summit. And we're so proud of having your partnership with the Strolling of the Heifers. And our missions really join together very nicely.
I agree. And definitely we're very happy to be a part of your event, which has been going on for so many years now and has made such a tremendous impact. So, we want to thank you, Orly, absolutely.
So it seems like we have to keep coming up with really good themes to keep you as a sponsor.
Wait till you hear of next year's. Oh my gosh, you'll love it.
I don't think there's any shortage of ideas, absolutely.
With that in mind. So we have a couple of women actually from your organization who are speaking at the summit, 2 younger women, which is fantastic. We're so glad to have representation from WhistlePig. Why do you think it's important to have women in your company and in positions of power in company in general?
Well, you really need diversity of opinion. You need diversity of viewpoints. I mean, and I also want to point out a scientific fact here that women's palates are stronger than men's. They have more taste buds, so they are actually able to taste better than we can. So our distillery manager, Emily Harrison, has taken on that role in the last few months now, and she's from Kentucky, and she knows her bourbon, she knows her whiskey, and so we're incredibly thrilled to have her. And Megan Ireland, who is our quality control specialist, she's a local girl, she's a Vermonter, and she has taken that role on probably almost a year now, so she's been a little bit longer with us than Emily has. And both of them have established a great dynamic and really change the way the team works in the distillery for the positive. So I think they're going to be a great addition to the event.
Yeah, that's a really interesting, I had no idea about that fact, so that's really cool to know. It's practical as well as ideological, so it's a win-win, it seems like.
Yeah, absolutely.
Years ago, actually, I did some work at the Beam Distillery with the quality assurance team, and it was 7 women, and
Wow.
all in quality assurance. And you know, when you're making something for that volume, consistency is incredibly important. So I never made the connection though. They never told me that was one of the reasons that there were so many women on that team.
And that's something that I did not know until working for Whistlepig. And you know, every time I look at my wife now, when we're each enjoying a glass of whiskey, the two of us, I know she's enjoying it just a little bit more than I am.
Well, it's good to stay a little bit jealous. Orly, you mentioned Whistlepig Farm is a big sponsor of ours. Are there any other sponsors you'd like to recognize while we're...
Absolutely. Breakthrough Beverage. There's so many of them that folks can go to slowlivingsummit.org. Commonwealth, CNS. There's so many different sponsors who have generously supported us for 18 years, and we're just so excited. So what I suggest for people to do is really to go to slowlivingsummit.org and not only look at our sponsors, but look at the wonderful speakers that are going to be coming, as well as the schedule, and that's where you can register for participating in the Slow Living Summit.
Great, thanks. Okay, Larry, thank you very much. I know that you had to sort of stop and take some time out to meet with us today, so we very much appreciate it. All right, there we
You're
go.
very welcome, Jim. Thank you for having me.
Okay, thanks, Larry. Larry's frozen up, and when we come back, we'll have Gwen Picallo from the Center for Women in Enterprise in Vermont. All right, and we're back, and we're here with Gwen Picallo, Director of the Center for Women in Enterprise Vermont. Hi, Gwen. How are you?
Hi.
Tell us, Gwen, how did you learn about the Slow Living Summit?
So the Slow Living Summit has been on my radar for a number of years because it's such an innovative program. I think it really is kind of one of a kind in Vermont, and so it's been on my radar for quite some time. I've had the opportunity to participate both as just a participant and then as a service provider perspective. And it's one of my favorite events of the year. I think it's really valuable because it brings together both technical information and it makes it really fun and accessible. And so there's so much great energy. So I'm excited to be involved in it again this year.
Cool. And tell us about the Center for Women in Enterprise in Vermont.
Great. So Center for Women in Enterprise helps people start and grow their businesses. We receive some federal funds from the Small Business Administration to be able to offer no-cost business counseling throughout the life of a business. And the way that we do that is we work with a network of experts who are in the field, who volunteer with us an hour or two of their time to work with clients to figure out the issues that are keeping them up at night in their business. So we're able to offer that at no cost. It's pretty amazing. And then we also offer a ton of different types of trainings, everything from 2-hour deep dives into specific topics, legal considerations, understanding your financial statements, coming up with a good branding story, to some longer term courses and accelerator programs. We have a business planning course, we have a strategic planning course, and we're really honored to be able to work with a number of different partners around the state to be able to offer that. Final thing we do is we do Women's Business Enterprise Certification. So we help certified women-owned businesses to open doors for corporate and government contracting. So that can be a really lucrative next step as a company is building out their kind of portfolio of offerings. And to address the women part of Center for Women in Enterprise, we serve men, women, and everybody in between. The whole kind of idea about how we exist is that we do business slightly differently. So we we understand that clients come to us with a whole life, that starting a business or growing their business happens not in a void, but they have families and passions and interests outside of their business. And so we really focus on helping clients access the information they need, networks they need, and the support that they need to make the strategic decisions in their business based on what they want the business to do for them, as opposed to how they're going to make that business work no matter what.
So this year, participating, it seems like it's very much in your wheelhouse, a little more specifically than even in past years. So why do you think it's important to have an event that talks about women in business?
It's a good question, right? Okay, so ideally, I would be out of a job, right? There would not be a Center for Women in Enterprise, but the reality exists that there are significant discrepancies between women starting and growing their businesses and traditionally male-owned businesses. Women access financing in much smaller numbers, both debt, so loans and stuff like that, and equity. Women get maybe 2%. There's different statistics, and we can get into statistics another time. But women get, I think, less than 2% of investment dollars from private investors. Some of that has to do with women grow businesses in different ways and for different reasons. We tend to be in industries that are focused on nurturing and support service-based businesses, and so the way that those business models expand are different, and not good or bad. There's quite a bit of innovation. Women are really good at relationships. Women are really good at sales, and so providing an opportunity for women to be highlighted as, wow, we're humans too, and running businesses is an excellent opportunity to look at running businesses in innovative and different ways.
And Gwen, from what I have learned is, and from my own experience and speaking to other entrepreneurs and so forth, is that women are more frugal when they're starting a business than men.
I think you're exactly right, Orly. And, there might be a variety of different reasons for that. But women tend to grow businesses in slower and more prudent ways. And so then when we look at the kind of end stage of the business, women tend to stay in business longer. Mm-hmm. They tend to keep employees longer. And have more expansive relationships, depthy relationships with both their clients and, kind of all the stakeholders in their business. And some of that frugality might also come from the fact that traditional forms of financing aren't as available to women as men. And I can get into the whole history of women and financing some other time, but it's interesting stuff. And the baseline is that a healthy economy looks like equity in the small business ownership community.
Mm-hmm.
Center for Women Enterprise is a sponsor of Slow Living Summit. Is that correct, Orly?
We are. We're really honored.
Oh, and we are so excited about that. And also, Heifer International, the Heifer Project, we're so excited to have them, and they're also going to be speaking at the Slow Living Summit. And again, for those who are interested in finding out the most incredible speakers and sponsors and the schedule of the Slow Living Summit, the future of women in agriculture and food entrepreneurship, please go and see slowlivingsummit.org.
Gwen, thank you very much for joining us. We know you're a busy person, and I hope those people in the background there don't mind that their names are up on camera.
Oh, no. Well,
I saw Brant, but I didn't.
We just won't say where we are.
There you go. Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
Okay. We're looking forward to seeing you in June.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
The Slow Living Summit is June 6th and 7th. It takes place at the River Garden. You can go to slowlivingsummit.org if you want to learn more. It's going to be a great program this year. Thanks, and we'll see you next time.